Hi 108, this is week 2. Week 2 we are focusing on unit 10, so this is still review, backing up a little bit from where you should have ended in 106. And unit 10 is reviewing group 2 scales and arpeggios and also reviewing inversions, and we're going to look at a couple harmonizations together too. So your main focus this week should be making sure that you have group 2 scales in the hands and in the memory. So let's just do a little bit of a review on them. So your book puts into group 2 F and B and F sharp and C sharp. If you were with me in 106, you know that I like to separate these into groups 2 and 3 because each set has something in common. So just like with group 1, when we had a strategy of how the fingering worked, how our hands went together, what we were looking for that helped keep us on track, it's the same thing here. So let's look at this half of group 2 first. With F and B, remember that the key to remember is that one hand is using the group 1 fingering that we did last week in unit 9. The opposite hand doesn't use that 5th finger. It's easy to see which hand does which, because if you try to do a group 1 fingering and it's not that hand that does that fingering, you're going to end up with a thumb or a 5th finger on a black key, which we know isn't going to happen. So for instance, if I take an F scale and I try to do that group 1 fingering of 1, 2, 3, tuck the thumb, right there I know I'm in trouble. I know that's not correct. So what happens with F being group 2 is that we need to use a finger 4 on that B flat. Then we tuck the thumb, and you can see how I end on a 4. So this 5th finger is not used, whether I'm ending or whether I'm tucking and going up another octave. So since this hand does not use finger 5, it means that my left hand is using that exact same fingering that we did for C, G, D, A, E. So when we put our hands together with group 2, our thumbs do end up together in the middle on that 5th scale degree, and they end up together on tonic. So that's a nice guidepost to look for. So that ends up going all the way through that B flat, thumbs together on the middle of the scale. Watch your crossing here. C is not the name of my scale, it's not tonic, so it's a 3 cross. Thumbs together on tonic. F is the name of the scale, there's a 4 cross, so that's a hint we talked about last week. And then be careful that you do indeed not use that 5th finger, and then going down. Key of B is just the opposite. This time it's that left hand that's not going to use that 5th finger. Again, if I try to do group 1, there's where I end up in trouble. So it starts with a 4. As I cross over here, remember how we've talked about fingerings are economical. 3 notes left in a scale crossing with a 3. Same thing here. Use that visual of 3 black keys to see that you're going to need to cross with a finger 4 to get 3 fingers. 2 black keys, 2 fingers. So B in particular really fits the hand well. So if this hand is not using group 5, that means my right hand is using a group 1. And just like F with these group 2 scales, I'm aiming for my thumbs together right there. This time it's on the 4th scale degree and on tonic. I think sometimes these scales with black keys scare us a little bit, but they actually will help guide you, especially if you're looking for those crossings. As you add on your arpeggios, F major would be a white to white, so that's a fingering we've worked on this week. Remember choosing that 5-4 for white to white. B major would give you a white to black. That 5-3, again, right hand doesn't change. We've worked on those this week. The other 2 scales that your book includes as part of group 2 are F sharp or G flat, C sharp or D flat, our enharmonic keys here. One word should be all you need to remember what their fingerings are. Cluster. By cluster, I mean that the scales are built around your clusters of 2 black keys and 3 black keys. So if it's a cluster of 2, it's always going to be 2s and 3s that play. If it's a cluster of 3s, it's always going to be 2, 3, and 4s that play. That means that the thumb is always tucking on the white key. So I suggest playing it even as a cluster so that you can see those clusters evident. If I'm looking at C sharp, D flat, it's a group of 2. My thumb's going to tuck. You have to think about your scale degree, or you could think about the fact that with C sharp, D flat, it's the second white key. Group of 3, so my 3 middle fingers. Second white key for the thumb. Group of 2, second white key. Group of 3, second white key. Please end how you began. So that would be a 2 in the right, 3 in the left. Once you visually can see this, then it will be fairly easy to separate it out. F sharp's going to be the same way. Notice I've given you a little hint here with the thumbs. That sometimes helps with thumb placement. With F sharp, G flat is always going to be the first white, second white. So same process. I'm just doing a group of 3, thumb on first white, group of 2, thumb on second white, group of 3. And again at the top, don't just put any old finger there. Please use the finger that would start that scale at the beginning. Your arpeggios for F sharp and C sharp bring in a couple more rules that we need to review that we did cover in this unit and we did cover in 106. F sharp major would end up being all black. That's the only key that's all black. And all black fingering is the same as all white. So that would mean in the left hand, 5, 4, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3. Remember that 5, 3 can be an alternate fingering. We'll review that in class. C sharp major is going to give you that black to white. This seems to be the fingering that bothers most people. Here's a reminder of it. I just wrote 1 octave out here. And remember how we thought about this when we learned this initially. I've got black, white, black, black. We know our thumb or 5th finger is not going to go on a black key in a scale and arpeggio. This is the only place that thumb can go. So if my thumb is lining up on the 3rd, I can see the 2 placement in my left. I need to come over with a 4 in my right. And then I'm going to see the 2 in my right. I need that 4 to come over in my left. You could think about blocking it this way to see it. So black to white is all 4 2s and 1s in both hands. This is the white key, in this case the 3rd. So make sure that you take a look and refresh your memory on that black to white arpeggio. These scales are on page 142, 143 in your book. You know that I believe that you're going to learn them faster and better if you work on them by rote, if you write out the fingerings yourself. If you do refer to the book, please do them 1 octave apart, not 2 octave apart as your book has. I'd also like you to spend some time reviewing inversions on page 136. Inversions, as we go into harmonization this week, there are going to be times when we're asked specifically to move a chord into a first inversion. Remember, that means instead of spelling it root, 3rd, 5th, they want the 3rd to be the lowest sounding tone, 5th, root. Second inversion would be that 5th on the bottom. So a great way just to review this would be after you do a scale and arpeggio, taking one hand or both, take your chords, root position, take that F, flip it up on the top, first inversion. Take your A, flip it up on the top, second inversion. And you can certainly go through all the scale degrees. Here would be my minor 2, first inversion, second inversion. Minor 3, first inversion, second inversion. So that's a great warm-up or technique exercise that you can do. Where we are going to use this in particular is going to be here on page 145. This should be a review page for you. Notice on the top example, we've got melody playing with the right hand. We've got the left hand adding the chords. They started giving you just the bass here. When you have the slash with another letter name, that is telling you an inversion. So D major chord with an F sharp on the bottom, that's the 3rd, so they're asking us for a first inversion. I could notate that as a D6. So first measure, second measure, it's the same chord, but they want an inversion. When you are doing a harmonization, if you are asked for an inversion, you've got 2 of them here, and you play them in root position or an inversion that's not marked, it will be a fail on the proficiency. So you do need to plan carefully and watch carefully. We're also going to review 2-handed harmonization this week, where we've got root in the left hand and the chord in the right hand, and we've got a couple opportunities here where we're going to see that same indication of an inversion. So instead of putting the D on the bottom, they want an F sharp. Remember that the left hand's playing the root or the lowest sounding note. In this case, lowest sounding note is not D, it's F sharp, and they're asking you for simple boom chick pattern. That's where I'd like you to concentrate this week. There's some wonderful pieces here and some great sight reading that you can do to get back in the swing of things. But my main concern for you is to be getting those scales, the F, B, C sharp, F sharp, back in your hands, and then taking that and reviewing your triads. So remember that your quiz this week is due on Friday at 5 o'clock. The quiz this week is 3 major scales with their major arpeggios, 2 octaves, hands together. So that means that you need to be sure that with your video, make sure it's not audio only, but with your video, the camera is on your hands. I am grading you on correct fingering along with correct notes. I need to be able to see your hands. So if you look up quiz 1, you'll be reminded that is E major, F major, and G flat major. So you've got 3 scales, 3 arpeggios, all major, for the quiz that's due at the end of this week. Thanks.